The Galactic Council, made up of the most advanced alien civilizations in the galaxy, has long looked down on the human race as primitive and insignificant. For decades, they have ignored the existence of Earth, content to let the lesser species develop in isolation. Deep within the ornate council chambers on the capital planet of Zendari, the representatives from the various star empires gathered for their biannual meeting. As the agenda cycled through the standard discussions of trade agreements, diplomatic relations, and resource allocation, one item stood out. A report from the Reconnaissance Corps regarding strange signals emanating from a remote, unremarkable planet designated as Earth. This human world has managed to conceal its technological progress for far too long, growled the representative from the mighty Krellian Empire, slamming his fist on the table. They must be brought under our dominion before they pose a threat to our supremacy. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Galactic Council had long prided itself on maintaining a delicate balance of power amongst its member civilizations. The idea that some backwater species could be developing cutting-edge technologies without their knowledge was simply unacceptable. I propose we send a task force to this Earth immediately, continued the Krellian. A swift, decisive strike will crush any notions of independence these humans may harbor. The Zendari counselor, serving as the meeting's moderator, raised a clawed hand to quiet the room. While I understand your concerns, honored representative, we must proceed with caution. A hasty military action could have unforeseen consequences. Perhaps we should first dispatch a diplomatic envoy to assess the situation and open negotiations. The Krellian representative scoffed, his reptilian features twisting in disdain. Negotiations. These humans have already shown their contempt for our authority. They must be taught a lesson, lest others be emboldened to defy the Galactic Council. Tension hung thick in the air as the various factions debated the appropriate course of action. The representatives from the Vosori Principality and the Draconian Hegemony voiced concerns about escalating the situation unnecessarily, while the Cygnian Theocracy and Imperium of Kor argued forcefully for a decisive military response. Finally, the Zendari counselor raised a hand, silencing the room. It appears we are at an impasse. Let us take a brief recess to consider our options more carefully. When we reconvene, I expect a clear consensus on how to proceed. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, murmurs of unease and anticipation swept through their ranks. The fate of the insignificant human world now hung in the balance, its inhabitants unaware of the cosmic storm about to descend upon them. On the distant planet of Earth, the people of the small human colony on Gliese 667 Seeks went about their daily lives, blissfully ignorant of the machinations taking place light years away. The colony, established only a decade earlier, had quickly become a hub of scientific and technological innovation, drawing some of the brightest minds from across the globe. Professor Amelia Sinclair, the colony's chief science officer, stood before a holographic display, carefully analyzing the latest sensor data from the colony's extensive network of orbital platforms. Her brow furrowed in concentration as she reviewed the anomalous readings that had triggered the alert. "Strange," she murmured, her fingers dancing across the display's controls. "The quantum flux in the upper atmosphere is off the charts. And those energy signatures. I've never seen anything like them." A chime from the console interrupted her thoughts, and she turned to see a priority message from the colony's central command. Frowning, she opened the transmission. "Professor Sinclair, this is Governor Rains. I need you to report to the Situation Room immediately. We've just received some unsettling news from Earth." Sinclair's heart raced as she hurried through the colony's gleaming corridors. Whatever had prompted the governor to sound the alarm, she knew it couldn't be good. As she entered the Situation Room, she was greeted by the grim faces of the colony's scene. The room fell silent, the weight of the governor's words hanging heavily in the air. Sinclair clenched her fists, her mind racing. If the Galactic Council launched an attack on their colony, there was little chance of survival. They simply didn't have the resources or the firepower to fend off a full-scale invasion. But then, a glimmer of hope sparked in the back of her mind. "Governor, what about the project? The one we've been working on in secret for the past decade." Rains met her gaze, a flicker of determination crossing his features. "It's time. Mobilize the fleet and put our contingency plan into action. We may be the only hope humanity has left." The news of the Galactic Council's impending invasion sent shockwaves through the colony on Gliese 667 CC. What had once been a peaceful outpost, dedicated to scientific exploration and technological advancement, now found itself on the brink of a cosmic confrontation. Professor Sinclair hurried through the colony's sprawling complex, her mind racing. She knew that the secret project she and her team had been working on for the past decade was their only hope of survival, but she also understood the immense risks involved. If the Galactic Council discovered their plans, it would mean the complete annihilation of the human colony, and potentially the entire human race. Reaching the secure research facility deep underground, Sinclair briefed her top scientists and engineers on the gravity of the situation. "We've always known this day might come," she said, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. "The Galactic Council has caught wind of our advancements, and they're not pleased. They're sending a task force to assess the situation, which is just a fancy way of saying they're going to wipe us out." The researchers exchanged nervous glances, the weight of Sinclair's words sinking in. One of the younger engineers, a brilliant but soft-spoken woman named Miley, spoke up. "So what does this mean for the project? Are we finally going to activate the fleet?" Sinclair nodded gravely. "Yes, Mai. It's time. Governor Rains has given the order. We need to accelerate our timetable and get those ships ready for launch. We have to be prepared for the Council's attack." The team sprang into action, their fingers flying across holographic consoles as they rerouted power, realigned systems, and double-checked critical systems. Sinclair watched them, her heart swelling with pride and trepidation. This was the culmination of a decade's worth of work, of painstaking research and innovative engineering. But would it be enough to stand against the might of the Galactic Council? The final preparations were being made. A message came through the colony's secure communications channel. Sinclair's eyes widened as she read the urgent transmission from Earth. "Professor Sinclair, this is Central Command. The Galactic Council has launched their task force. They'll be arriving at our position within the next 72 hours. You need to get those ships ready, now. We'll hold them off as long as we can, but you're our only hope." Sinclair swallowed hard, her grip tightening on the console. "Understood, Central Command. We're working as fast as we can. May the stars be with you." Turning to her team, Sinclair steeled her resolve. "You heard the message. Time is of the essence. Let's get these ships launched and give the Galactic Council a rude awakening." For the next 72 hours, the colony on Gliese 667 Seeks was a whirlwind of activity. Sinclair and her team worked around the clock, fueled by a mix of adrenaline, determination, and sheer terror. They knew that the fate of their entire species hung in the balance. Finally, as the Galactic Council's task force emerged from the void, the colony's long-hidden Starfleet took to the skies. Sinclair watched from the command center, her heart pounding, as the sleek, advanced vessels engaged the invading alien ships. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the human colonists had ever witnessed. The Galactic Council's forces, confident in their technological superiority, were unprepared for the power and capabilities of the human Starfleet. Plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes tore through alien hulls, while state-of-the-art shielding deflected the invaders' attacks. Sinclair gripped the edge of the console, her knuckles turning white, as she watched the tide of the battle shift. The humans were holding their own, inflicting heavy casualties on the Galactic Council's forces, but she knew it was only a matter of time before the sheer numerical advantage of the alien fleets would overwhelm them. Just as the human ships were beginning to falter, a blinding light filled the skies above the colony. Sinclair's eyes widened as she recognized the signature of a massive warp jump and the emergence of an even larger human fleet, its sleek, angular vessels bristling with weaponry. "This is Admiral Yamato of the Earth Expeditionary Force." A voice boomed over the communication channel. "Stand down, Galactic Council, and withdraw your forces immediately. This colony is under the protection of the United Planetary Alliance." The Galactic Council's task force, caught off guard by the arrival of this unexpected reinforcement, began a hasty retreat. Sinclair let out a shaky breath, a wave of relief and pride washing over her. The long-hidden might of humanity had been unleashed, and the Galactic Council had learned a painful lesson. Never underestimate the tenacity and ingenuity of the human race. The sudden appearance of the massive Earth Expeditionary Force caught the Galactic Council's task force completely off guard. The sleek, angular vessels of the human fleet bristled with advanced weaponry, their mere presence a defiant challenge to the would-be invaders. Admiral Yamato's voice boomed once more over the communication channel, his tone stern and unyielding. "This is your final warning, Galactic Council. Withdraw your forces immediately, or we will be forced to escalate this confrontation." The representatives aboard the Galactic Council's flagship exchanged frantic glances, their confidence rapidly crumbling in the face of this unexpected development. The Krellian representative, his reptilian features contorted in a mix of shock and fury, slammed his fist on the console. "Impossible. How could these primitives have assembled such a formidable fleet without our knowledge?" He snarled. "We must destroy them before they can threaten our supremacy." The Xendari counselor raised a clawed hand, his expression grave. "Restraint, honored representative. We are outmatched and outgunned. To continue this engagement would be suicidal." He turned to the vessel's communications officer. "Initiate a full retreat. We will regroup and consider our next move." Reluctantly, the Galactic Council's task force began to disengage, its ships slowly pulling away from the human colony. Sinclair watched the retreating alien vessels with a mix of relief and trepidation. She knew that this was only a temporary respite. The Galactic Council would not easily accept this humiliating defeat. As the last of the alien ships disappeared into the void, Sinclair turned to the holographic displays, her fingers flying across the controls. "All right, people, we need to get those ships refueled and resupplied as quickly as possible. Admiral Yamato's fleet may have bought us some time, but we can't afford to let our guard down." The colony's engineers and technicians sprang into action, their movements efficient and coordinated. Sinclair watched them, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. These were the best and brightest minds humanity had to offer, and they had proven their mettle against the might of the Galactic Council. As the repairs and resupply efforts neared completion, Sinclair received a communication from Admiral Yamato. The grizzled veteran's face appeared on the view screen, his expression solemn. "Professor Sinclair, I'm glad to see your colony and its defenders have survived the initial onslaught. But this is only the beginning. The Galactic Council will not take this humiliation lightly, and they will be back with overwhelming force." Sinclair nodded, her jaw set with determination. "We're ready, Admiral. Our ships are refueled and rearmed, and our people are ready to defend their home. What's your plan?" Yamato's lips curled into a grim smile. "Simple. We take the fight to them. We can't afford to wait for the Galactic Council to regroup and launch another attack. We need to strike first, hit them hard, and show them that humanity is not to be trifled with." Sinclair's eyes widened at the audacity of the Admiral's proposal. "You want to launch a counteroffensive against the full might of the Galactic Council? That's suicide." "Maybe so," Yamato conceded, "but it's also our best chance at survival. If we can cripple their forces, demoralize their leadership, and demonstrate our technological superiority, they may think twice about attempting another invasion." Sinclair hesitated, her mind racing. The risks were staggering, but she knew Yamato was right. They couldn't afford to play defense. The Galactic Council would regroup, and the next attack would be even more devastating. If humanity wanted to survive, they needed to take the initiative. "All right, Admiral," she said, her voice resolute. "What's the plan?" Yamato's grim smile widened. We're going to hit them where it hurts, their homeworld of Tendari. With your colony ships joining my fleet, we'll have the manpower and firepower to penetrate their defenses and deliver a crippling blow. Sinclair's heart raced at the thought of such a bold and risky maneuver. Xendari. But that's the heart of the Galactic Council's power. Won't they be expecting us to try something like that? Exactly, Yamato replied. That's why it'll work. They'll never see it coming. We catch them off guard, take out their command and control, and then exploit their disarray to systematically dismantle their forces. Sinclair took a deep breath, steeling her nerves. All right, Admiral. Let's do this. For Earth and for the future of humanity. With a nod, Yamato cut the transmission, leaving Sinclair to rally her people for the most pivotal battle in human history. As the combined human fleet prepared for its daring assault on the Galactic Council's homeworld of Tendari, a palpable sense of determination and unease hung in the air. The colonists of Gliese 667 cease, having witnessed the devastating power of the invading alien forces firsthand, knew all too well the risks they were about to undertake. Professor Sinclair stood on the bridge of the colony's flagship, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays as the final preparations were made. Beside her, Admiral Yamato reviewed the battle plans, his weathered features etched with a mixture of confidence and caution. This is it, Sinclair, the Admiral said, his gaze meeting hers. We're about to take the fight to the heart of the Galactic Council's domain. Our people are counting on us to succeed. Sinclair nodded, her fingers tightening around the edge of the console. I know the stakes, Admiral. If we fail, it won't just be our colony that suffers the consequences. It could mean the end of humanity as we know it. Yamato placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then we can't afford to fail. These aliens have underestimated us for far too long. It's time we showed them the true strength and ingenuity of the human race. With a terse nod, Sinclair turned to the communications officer. Initiate the jump to Xendari. Let's give the Galactic Council a rude awakening. The human fleet, its sleek vessels bristling with advanced weaponry, vanished into the void, leaving behind the colony of Gliese 667 cease and its anxious inhabitants. Sinclair watched the empty space where the ships had been, her heart pounding with a mix of trepidation and anticipation. The Galactic Council's capital planet of Tendari was a bustling hub of activity, its towering spires and sprawling metropolises a testament to the might and technological superiority of the alien civilizations that made up the interstellar governing body. But in the wake of the humiliating defeat at the human colony, a palpable sense of unease had crept into the heart of the Council's leadership. The Krellian representative paced the length of the ornate council chambers, his scales glistening with barely contained fury. This is an outrage. How dare these primitives defy us and escape with their lives? We must launch a full-scale invasion immediately, before they can regroup and threaten us again. The Xendari counselor raised a clawed hand, his expression grave. Patience, honored representative. We cannot afford to act rashly, not after the disastrous outcome of our previous engagement. We must first fortify our defenses and gather intelligence on the human fleet's movements. The Krellian's reptilian features twisted in a sneer. Intelligence? We know all we need to know. These humans are a threat to our dominance, and they must be crushed before they can grow stronger. Before the Xendari counselor could respond, a frantic communication came through the council's secure channel. The color drained from the counselor's face as he listened, his claws gripping the edge of the table. By the stars, he murmured, his voice tinged with a rare hint of fear. The human fleet has somehow breached our defenses and is approaching the capital. We're under attack. Chaos erupted in the council chambers as the representatives scrambled to their stations, barking orders and rallying their forces. The Krellian representative's eyes burned with a mixture of rage and disbelief. Impossible. How could they have anticipated our movements so precisely? This must be some kind of trick. The Xendari counselor shook his head, his expression grim. It matters not. We must defend our homeworld at all costs. Sound the alarm and prepare for battle." Outside, the skies above Tsendari were lit by the brilliant flashes of weapon fire as the human fleet, led by the seasoned Admiral Yamato, launched its daring assault. Sinclair watched the unfolding battle from the bridge of the colony's flagship, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. "They've taken the bait," Yamato said, his voice tinged with a hint of grim satisfaction. "Now let's show the Galactic Council the true might of the human race." With a nod, Sinclair turned to the communications officer. "All ships, commence the attack. Leave no quarter." The human vessels surged forward, their devastating firepower tearing into the Galactic Council's defenses. Sinclair gripped the edge of the console, her knuckles turning white, as she watched the battle unfold. This was it, their one chance to turn the tide of the conflict and secure the future of humanity. The battle for Tsendari raged on, a dazzling display of light and fury as the human fleet engaged the full might of the Galactic Council's defenses. Sinclair watched from the bridge of the colony's flagship, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. Admiral Yamato's voice crackled over the communication channel, his grizzled features set in a look of grim focus. "All ships, concentrate your fire on the primary defense grid. We need to break through their shielding if we're going to have any chance of reaching the council chambers." The human vessels surged forward, their advanced weaponry unleashing a torrent of devastating energy beams and quantum torpedoes. Sinclair felt the deck plates vibrate beneath her feet as the colony's own armaments joined the fray, adding their firepower to the relentless assault. The Galactic Council's defenses were formidable, with layer upon layer of energy shields and automated defense systems. But the human fleet's innovative tactics and superior technology began to take their toll, slowly chipping away at the alien stronghold. Sinclair watched the holographic displays, her brow furrowed in concentration. "They're adapting to our attacks," she warned, her voice tight with worry. "We need to find a way to overwhelm their systems before they can mount a counteroffensive." Yamato's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing as he studied the battle unfolding before them. "Then we'll have to hit them harder and faster. Divert all available power to the forward weapon systems and prepare to execute the Epsilon maneuver." Sinclair's eyes widened at the mention of the Epsilon maneuver, a daring tactic that required perfect coordination and timing. "Admiral, that's an incredibly risky move. Are you sure we're ready for it?" "We don't have a choice, Sinclair," Yamato replied, his expression grim. "If we don't break through their defenses now, we may not get another chance." Nodding reluctantly, Sinclair turned to the bridge crew, barking out orders. The human vessels shifted formation, their weapon systems charging to full power as they prepared to execute the audacious maneuver. In the council chambers of Tsendari, the Galactic Council's representatives watched the battle unfolding with a growing sense of dread. The Krellian representative, his scales quivering with rage, slammed his fist on the table. "This is unacceptable. How dare these insignificant humans challenge the might of the Galactic Council?" The Tsendari counselor raised a clawed hand, his expression grim. "Calm yourself, honored representative. We must maintain our composure and focus our efforts on defending our homeworld." "Defend," the Krellian spat. "We should be annihilating them, not cowering behind our defenses. Where are our reinforcements? Where is our vaunted military might?" The counselor's features darkened. "Our reinforcements have been delayed, and our military forces are engaged across the galaxy. We are stretched thin, honored representative. We underestimated the humans, and now we must face the consequences of our arrogance." The Krellian's eyes narrowed to slits, his claws digging into the table's surface. "Then we shall make them pay dearly for their insolence. Order our ships to concentrate their fire on the human flagship. If we can't defeat them, we'll at least take their precious leader down with us." The counselor hesitated, his gaze flickering with uncertainty. "Are you certain that is wise? Such an action may only serve to further enrage the humans and—" "I care not for your cowardly concerns," the Krellian bellowed, cutting him off. "Do it, or I will have your head for your failure." Reluctantly, the counselor relayed the order, his claws tightening around the communication console as he watched the human flagship become the sole focus of the Galactic Council's battered forces. Back on the human flagship, Sinclair and Yamato felt the deck shudder as the alien vessels poured their firepower onto their position. Gritting her teeth, Sinclair turned to the helmsman. "Now, Lieutenant, execute the Epsilon maneuver." The human fleet moved as one, their vessels flashing through the void in a daring high-speed assault. Sinclair held her breath, her heart pounding in her ears as the Galactic Council's defenses were overwhelmed by the sheer audacity and precision of the human attack. Just as the Galactic Council's forces seemed poised to retaliate, the human flagship emerged from the chaos, its weapons blazing. Sinclair watched with a mixture of awe and horror as the council chambers were engulfed in a blinding explosion, the shockwave rippling through the battle. "By the stars," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the din of the ongoing conflict. "We've done it. We've struck at the heart of the Galactic Council." Yamato's grim features softened into a rare smile. "Indeed, Professor, but this is only the beginning. The Galactic Council will not forget this humiliation, and they will be back with everything they've got." Sinclair's expression hardened with determination. "Then we'll be ready for them. Humanity has shown its true strength today, and we won't back down without a fight." As the battle raged on, the tide had turned in favor of the human fleet, but Sinclair knew that the real test was yet to come, as the Galactic Council would surely regroup and launch a devastating counterattack. The future of humanity now hung in the balance, and the colonists of Gliese 667 Seek were prepared to defend their home and their species with every fiber of their being. The devastating attack on the Galactic Council's capital of Sendari had sent shockwaves through the interstellar governing body, shattering their confidence and exposing the vulnerabilities of their vaunted military might. But the human victory was short-lived, as the Council quickly mobilized its full strength to launch a massive counteroffensive against the upstart colonists of Gliese 667 CC. From the bridge of the human flagship, Professor Sinclair watched with growing unease as the Galactic Council's armada emerged from the void, its vast fleet of advanced vessels bristling with weaponry. Admiral Yamato stood beside her, his weathered features etched with a mixture of determination and caution. "They've mustered everything they have," Yamato said, his voice low and steady. "This is going to be the fight of our lives, Sinclair. Are your people ready?" Sinclair took a deep breath, her gaze shifting to the holographic displays that showed the human colony's defenses being reinforced and prepared for the impending onslaught. "As ready as they can be, Admiral. But the odds are stacked against us. The Galactic Council is throwing everything they've got at us." Yamato nodded, his expression grave. "Then we'll have to fight twice as hard to survive. Signal all ships. Prepare for immediate engagement. We can't let them gain a foothold on Gliese 667 Feek." The human fleet surged forward, its sleek vessels unleashing a devastating barrage of plasma beams and quantum torpedoes. The Galactic Council's forces, undeterred by their previous defeat, responded with equal ferocity, their advanced weaponry carving deep into the human defenses. Sinclair gripped the edge of the console, her knuckles turning white as she watched the battle unfold. The two fleets collided in a dazzling display of light and power, each side fighting with a desperation born of the high stakes at hand. "They're concentrating their firepower on the colony's outer defenses," Sinclair reported, her voice tense. "We're sustaining heavy casualties, and our shields are starting to falter." Yamato's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing as he studied the tactical display. "Then we'll have to hit them harder, divert more power to the forward weapon systems. Order all ships to converge on the Galactic Council's flagship. We need to take out their command and control." The human vessels surged forward, their combined firepower tearing into the Galactic Council's lead ship. Sinclair watched with bated breath as the alien vessel's shields began to buckle under the relentless assault. "We've breached their primary defenses," she exclaimed, a glimmer of hope in her voice. Keep pressing the attack, Admiral. We may actually have a chance off. Sinclair's words were cut short as a series of rapid-fire explosions rocked the human flagship, sending her stumbling across the bridge. Alarms blared, and the holographic displays flickered with damage reports. What happened? Yamato demanded, his voice sharp with alarm. The Galactic Council's reinforcements have arrived, Sinclair replied, her face pale. They've launched a pincer movement, and we're caught in the middle. The human fleet, outnumbered and outgunned, found itself in a desperate struggle for survival. Sinclair watched helplessly as the Galactic Council's vessels pounded their battered defenses, slowly overwhelming the human forces. We can't hold out much longer. Admiral, she said, her voice tinged with desperation. We need to pull back and regroup, or we're going to be annihilated. Yamato's expression hardened, his gaze fixed on the unfolding battle. Retreat is not an option, Sinclair. If we fall back now, the Galactic Council will overrun the colony. We have to stand our ground, no matter the cost. Sinclair's eyes widened in horror as she realized the full gravity of their situation. You can't be serious, Admiral. That's suicide. Maybe so, Yamato replied, his voice calm and resolute. But it's the only way to ensure the survival of our species. Our people are counting on us, Sinclair. We can't let them down. Sinclair opened her mouth to protest, but the words died in her throat as she saw the unwavering determination in Yamato's eyes. She knew that he was right. This was their last stand, their final chance to prove humanity's worth to the Galactic Council. With a heavy heart, Sinclair turned to the communications officer, her voice steady despite the turmoil raging within. All ships, this is Professor Sinclair. Hold your positions and prepare for a full-scale assault. We're going to show the Galactic Council the true meaning of human resilience. The human fleet, its battered vessels united in a desperate last stand, braced for the coming onslaught. Sinclair and Yamato stood side by side, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and resolve. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and they were determined to fight to the bitter end. The battle for Gliese 667 Seek raged on, a cosmic tempest of laser fire and quantum torpedoes, as the human fleet faced the full might of the Galactic Council's reinforced armada. Sinclair stood on the bridge of the colony's flagship, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and unwavering determination. Around her, the bridge crew worked tirelessly, their fingers flying across the holographic displays as they struggled to maintain the beleaguered human defenses. Alarms blared, and damage reports scrolled across the screens, painting a grim picture of the escalating conflict. Sinclair turned to Admiral Yamato, her expression grim. We can't hold out much longer, Admiral. Our shields are failing, and our weapons systems are taking a beating. If we don't find a way to turn the tide soon, we're not going to survive this. Yamato's weathered features were etched with a mixture of focus and resolve. We knew this wouldn't be easy, Sinclair. But we can't give up, not when so much is at stake. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the chaos unfolding on the view screen. Tell me, what are our options? Sinclair's brow furrowed as she studied the tactical display, her mind racing. Well, we could try to punch through their lines and make a run for the colony, but our ships are too battered to outrun their pursuit. And if we stay here, we'll be wiped out to the last man. Yamato nodded, his expression grim. Then we'll have to find a way to even the odds. What about our secret weapon? The one you and your team have been working on. Sinclair's eyes widened as she realized what Yamato was suggesting. You can't be serious, Admiral. That system isn't even fully tested yet. Activating it now could be catastrophic for both us and the Galactic Council. We don't have a choice, Sinclair, Yamato replied, his voice firm. It's our only chance at survival. Order your team to bring the system online now. Sinclair hesitated, her mind racing. She knew the risks involved, the potential for disaster if things went wrong. But she also knew that they were out of options, their backs against the wall. With a resigned sigh, she turned to the communications officer. You heard the Admiral. Initiate the activation sequence for the Omega Protocol. May the stars be with us." The communications officer's fingers flew across the console, sending the activation signal to the hidden systems buried deep within the colony's infrastructure. Sinclair held her breath, her gaze fixed on the view screen as the battle raged on. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Galactic Council's vessels continued their relentless assault, pounding the human defenses with wave after wave of devastating firepower. But then, a sudden shift in the energy readings across the battlefield caught the attention of both the human and alien forces. "What's happening?" the Krellian representative on the Galactic Council's flagship demanded, his reptilian features twisted in a mix of confusion and alarm. The Xendari counselor's eyes widened as he studied the sensor data. It appears the human colony has activated some kind of advanced countermeasure system. I'm detecting massive fluctuations in the quantum field, and the human ships are starting to disappear from our sensors. The Krellian scales quivered with barely contained rage. Disappearing? What sorcery is this? Order our ships to target the colony's surface. Wheel. His words were cut short as a blinding flash of light erupted from the human colony, engulfing the Galactic Council's vessels in a dazzling display of energy. Sinclair and Yamato watched in awe as the alien ships were systematically dismantled, their advanced systems overwhelmed by the sheer power of the Omega Protocol. "By the stars," Sinclair breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's working. We're actually holding them off." Yamato's grim features softened into a rare smile. "I never doubted your team, Sinclair. This is the moment we've been preparing for. The chance to show the Galactic Council that humanity is not to be trifled with." The battle raged on, but the tide had turned in favor of the human defenders. Sinclair watched in a mixture of pride and disbelief as the Galactic Council's forces were gradually pushed back, their once formidable vessels reduced to drifting, disabled hulks. As the last of the alien ships retreated, a deafening cheer erupted from the human fleet. Sinclair felt a wave of relief wash over her, but she knew that the true test was yet to come. The Galactic Council would not easily accept this humiliating defeat, and they would undoubtedly return with an even greater force. Turning to Yamato, Sinclair's expression hardened with determination. "This is only the beginning, Admiral. The Galactic Council will be back, and we need to be ready for them. We can't afford to let our guard down, not for a moment." Yamato nodded, his gaze resolute. "Agreed. We'll need to bolster our defenses, reinforce our fleet, and prepare for the next confrontation. But for now," he placed a weathered hand on Sinclair's shoulder, a rare glimmer of pride in his eyes. "For now, we can take a moment to savor our victory. The human race has proven its worth, and the Galactic Council will never forget it." The decisive victory over the Galactic Council's massive invasion force sent shockwaves throughout the human colony on Gliese 667 cc. The colonists, once facing the prospect of total annihilation, now found themselves reveling in a newfound sense of pride and confidence. Professor Sinclair stood on the balcony of the colony's central command, her gaze sweeping across the bustling metropolis below. The streets were filled with jubilant crowds, their cheers and celebrations echoing through the gleaming towers. It was a far cry from the tense, fearful atmosphere that had gripped the colony just days earlier. Beside her, Admiral Yamato leaned against the railing, his weathered features softened by a rare smile. "You know, Sinclair, I have to hand it to you and your team. That Omega Protocol of yours really was the key to our survival." Sinclair nodded, her expression contemplative. "I suppose so, but I can't help but feel a sense of unease. The Galactic Council will not take this defeat lightly. They'll be back, and they'll be coming for us with everything they've got." Yamato's smile faded, his brow furrowing. "I know. That's why we can't afford to rest on our laurels. We need to use this time to strengthen our defenses, bolster our fleet, and prepare for the inevitable counterattack. But how can we possibly hope to stand against the full might of the Galactic Council?" Sinclair asked, her voice tinged with doubt. We may have won this battle, but they have resources and manpower that dwarf our own." Yamato placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We have something they don't, Sinclair. The ingenuity and determination of the human spirit. We've already proven that we're more than a match for their vaunted technological superiority. Now we just need to harness that spirit and use it to our advantage." Sinclair nodded, her expression resolving with newfound determination. "Then that's exactly what we'll do. I'll have my team begin work on further improvements to the Omega Protocol and other advanced defensive systems, and I'll make sure our engineers and scientists are working around the clock to upgrade our fleet's capabilities." "Good," Yamato said, his voice firm. "I'll coordinate with the other colony leaders to ensure we're all on the same page. We need to present a united front to the Galactic Council, show them that we're not to be trifled with." As Sinclair and Yamato set about their respective tasks, the rest of the colony began to fall into a state of heightened readiness. The initial euphoria of their victory had given way to a somber realization. The Galactic Council would not be deterred, and they would be back, likely sooner than anyone expected. In the days and weeks that followed, the human colonists worked tirelessly, driven by a newfound sense of purpose and determination. Sinclair and her team made significant breakthroughs in their research, developing even more advanced defensive systems and weapons technologies. Meanwhile, Yamato and the other military leaders oversaw the rapid expansion and modernization of the human fleet. They drew upon the resources of every colony and outpost, pooling their knowledge and expertise to create a formidable force capable of standing up to the Galactic Council's might. As the preparations continued, rumors began to spread through the colonies, whispers of the Galactic Council's growing unease and disarray. The humiliating defeat at Gliese 667 Seek had shaken the foundations of their interstellar dominance, and they were struggling to come to terms with the emergence of this newfound human power. Sinclair and Yamato watched these developments with a mixture of satisfaction and caution. They knew that the Galactic Council would not be deterred for long, and that the true test of humanity's resilience was yet to come. Finally, after months of painstaking work, the human defenses were ready. Sinclair stood on the bridge of the colony's flagship, her gaze fixed on the holographic displays as they tracked the Galactic Council's movements. "They're massing their forces, Admiral," she reported, her voice calm and steady. "It looks like they're preparing for a full-scale invasion of our colonies." Yamato nodded, his expression resolute. "Then we'll be ready for them. Signal all vessels. We move out immediately. It's time to show the Galactic Council that humanity is not to be trifled with." As the human fleet surged into the void, Sinclair felt a sense of purpose and determination coursing through her veins. The fate of their species hung in the balance, but she knew that they were no longer the weak, insignificant race that the Galactic Council had once dismissed. "For Earth," she murmured, her fingers tightening around the edge of the console. "For humanity." The battle that followed would be the defining moment in the history of the human race, a clash of titans that would decide the course of an entire galaxy. But Sinclair and her fellow colonists were ready, their resolve tempered by the trials they had already endured. This time, the Galactic Council would learn a painful lesson. Never underestimate the tenacity and ingenuity of the human spirit.